Today we're going to compare the ASICS Gel-Nimbus 26 and the ASICS Gel-Kayano 31. They're two completely different types of shoes. We're going to break down the difference in stability, performance, how they feel on your feet. We'll also give you a medical perspective on how the different aspects of the shoes affect your feet and how they move. So the first shoe that we're going to talk about is the Gel-Nimbus 26. It's got 41.5mm of cushioning on the back of the shoe, 33.5mm of cushioning on the front of the shoe, giving an 8mm difference from the back to the front of the shoe. In contrast to that, on the ASICS Gel-Kayano, it's got 40mm of cushioning at the back, 30mm of cushioning at the front, giving you a 10mm drop. So where drop is important is if you've got a higher drop, it lifts your heel up, it takes the pressure off your Achilles tendon and can ease symptoms on Achilles tendonitis. In contrast to that, it can place more pressure on the front of your foot, so if you have any issues with conditions like Morton's neuroma, metatarsalgia, it can overload these. However, in something like the Kayano, it's got loads of cushion under there, so it tends to counteract these effects. Then, as we think about the cushioning, they both have FF Blast cushioning with a pure gel insert in the inside of the midsole, so it's a super soft, super luxurious type of cushioning. When you apply pressure to it, you tend to sink into it, so it's really comfortable. It's designed to act more like a plush ride, so orientated around comfort as opposed to speed. If you look at other shoes like the Hoka Max 6 or the ASICS Nova Blast 4, when you apply pressure to them, they're really bouncy and springy and they push you forward. These type of shoes are all about comfort, so when you enter the heel strike, it's nice and soft, nice and smooth, and it helps then transition you forward into the push-off phase of the gait cycle. Now, one shoe is the stability, which is the ASICS Gel-Kayano, and one is more of a stable neutral shoe. So in the Gel-Kayano, you have the 4D guidance system. So the 4D guidance system is designed to give extra stability to your foot as you move, so it does so in different ways. So it has sole flare, where the sole of the shoe comes out wider than where your foot sits in the shoe. That gives you a broader base of support. It doesn't narrow in the midsole, so it stays nice and wide, again increasing your base of support. It's got a 4D guidance system on the inner aspect of the shoe under the medial arch of the foot. As you can see, it's a slightly different color than the other aspect of the midsole. It's a more resilient type of cushioning than the softer cushioning in the midsole. So as your foot moves inward, or as it pronates naturally through the gait cycle, this little bit of cushioning provides resistance so it doesn't come in too far. It's then pushed back out again, but the sole flare on the outer aspect of the shoe stops it from going too far out, keeping your foot centered in the shoe as you move. The final bit of extra stability is the sidewalls in the shoe, so it's these raised parts on the inside and on the outside between the heel and the midfoot. They help cradle your foot in the shoe, stop it from moving side to side or slipping side to side when changing direction in the shoe. They are also featured in the Gel-Nimbus 26. You can see the sidewalls here and here, so they add extra elements of stability alongside the sole flare, so it would classify the shoe as more of a stable neutral shoe. So then in terms of performance, so you've got a posterior lateral heel bevel on both shoes, so that means it's slightly thicker on one side of the shoe than it is on the other when you hit the ground on your heel. That helps to reduce the amount that your heel crashes inward. It provides extra stability, keeping your foot centered. It's featured on both shoes, but a bit more prevalent on the Gel-Kayano. Alongside the extra stability features, it tries to keep your foot centered. Then it has a early to moderate forefoot rocker, which is where the midfoot starts to curve upward towards the forefoot. This assists with the push-off phase of the gait cycle, and it ensures a nice smooth transition from heel contact, midfoot through to push-off. In contrast to that, in the Gel-Nimbus, has a little bit earlier lift on the heel bevel, and it also has a bit more aggressive of a forefoot rocker with a bit more toe spring. Now, toe spring is where the toes are slightly elevated in the shoe, and that can help with a really aggressive propulsion phase in the gait cycle. It is important to take note with this that it can overload or place extra stress on your toes, so if you have any issues with your toes or with the ball of your foot, you may not enjoy the extra bit of toe spring, which is not as prevalent in the Gel-Kayano 31. So on top of that, when you're thinking about what sort of activities you would do with them, they're both excellent shoes for walking, standing all day. In terms of running, the Gel-Kayano is very much a cruiser shoe. It comes in about 10 grams heavier than what you get in the Nimbus. It's more about giving you extra stability, comfort, softness in your run, something that you'd use for long steady runs if you're looking for a stability shoe. Similarly, in the Nimbus, it's also a cruiser shoe, nice for recovery runs, for easy runs. Because of that similar type of cushioning, it just doesn't have the same amount of stability elements that you get in the Gel-Kayano. As we move on top, you've got more room in the Gel-Kayano in the toe box than you get in the Gel-Nimbus. However, it is a bit more spacious than the previous model. They're both true to size, so you don't need to go up or down in the sizing. I would just be aware that if you're looking at the EU versus the UK versus the US, ASICS are measured slightly differently than what you get in other brands, so just check the sizing guide if you're going to purchase them. Then as we move up into the laces and the tongue, you've got a gusseted tongue in both shoes, so they're stitched into the shoe so it doesn't move side to side. It locks down really nicely. You've got a nice padded tongue on the Gel-Kayano, and you've got a thinner tongue on the Nimbus. You've got more of a sock-like plush fit in the upper on the Kayano, so it really goes more for comfort, and that's where typically you get that extra bit of weight. And then a little bit thinner overlayer on top on the upper on the Gel-Nimbus. Both shoes have this really nice plush padding around the heel counter, a little bit more prevalent in the Kayano than in the Nimbus. So as you bring your foot into the shoe, it sucks it in, holds it in there, and it's super comfortable and nice and padded around your heel. Now it's a bit more of a stiffer heel counter on the Gel-Kayano. That's more important in terms of giving you stability. So the stiff heel counter alongside the sidewalls reduce the amount that your foot can slide side to side when changing direction. In terms of how that applies to different conditions, if you've something like a Haglin's deformity, it tends to not enjoy having a stiff heel counter because it can put extra pressure on the back of your heel. A little bit more flexible and mobile on the Gel-Nimbus. So again, if you are looking for something that doesn't put pressure on the back of your heel, then the Nimbus tends to work better. Both of them have a nice heel pull-on tab, and they're both super comfortable. So overall, if you're looking for a maximum stability shoe that's super cushioned, really luxurious, really comfortable for long distance running, standing on your feet all day, or long walks, then the Kayano is an excellent option. The Gel-Nimbus 26 covers all of those bases, but it essentially doesn't give as much stability as what you get in the Gel-Kayano. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit less padding on top of the shoe, a little bit thinner, so you get stable neutral, a little bit lighter, not as padded, ultimate comfort, padding and stability in the Gel-Kayano 31. We've got loads of reviews on different ASICS shoes, so check them out. We'll link them in the description below. If you'd like to buy the shoes, we've links to the shoes in the description also. It really helps fund the channel. If you decide not to buy through the links, really appreciate if you can like the video and share it, as it really helps with promoting the channel and creating extra content. Otherwise, thanks very much for checking in, and if you have any questions on the shoes, please leave them in the comment section below.